Good morning, everyone, and welcome once again to Grandpa Bill and Grandpa Bill's Grunts and Groans podcast. And welcome to Monday morning at the time of this taping on April the 22nd at approximately, about 8 minutes shy of 5 a.m. It's depending on when you guys join me here as you come through, start of another work week and sitting here in the morning reflecting with you folks. Just wanted to make this edition of the Grunts and Groans show a tiny bit more mellow than some of my episodes have been. And um, when I try to use this show for, it's a companion to my blogs and my Blog Talk Radio show and these three websites that I've got going on, one of which is dedicated to my granddaughter, Adahs Animal Products.com. Well, I'm sitting here with a little pregame jitters today on Monday morning because the boss is coming over today. I'm teasing. The boss is my granddaughter. She has an extra day off on the backside of the Easter holiday week break. So I think she's coming over to my house in a few short hours, so we'll see about that. One of the things I'm excited about is her level of excitement. I chatted with her yesterday and previous to that a couple of days ago. In any event, I threw it out to her. Now, at 11 years old, she's definitely hands off on this kid's business that I'm trying to create for her. Having said that, she has a lot of input behind the scenes. So, one of which I said to her, I said, Ada, she's fairly artistically gifted. She's a pretty smart kid, and she has two aunts that are really talented with coordination and organization, but also with a flair for art. So she drew a hand sketch of this lady the last time I had dinner with them, with my son and his wife. I talk a lot about that in my shows. I talk to you guys more than I talk to my family. Sound familiar? It's a better up and go society and so forth. But anyway, while we were having family dinner at the time, Ada did this sketch, and oh, Grandpa, I learned this with Auntie Robin, and watch this, and she's pretty good. So, I don't know what it was. And 5 days later, with my crazy little man brain, the light came on, as most things do. It didn't take me that long, especially at this age. That's another story. But I threw it out to Ada in a subsequent conversation. Listen, this is your website. You can do what you want. Here's an idea. Maybe you could come up with some ideas and totally redesign your logo if you want to create a logo. Well, that seemed to make her excited at the moment. That was 5 days ago or whatever. So I always encourage that freedom in her. It's part of what I'm trying to teach her, and individuality. And I've been independent, oh my God, forever. Talk a lot about that. So when she comes over, if she comes over, she's also so bright that you have to keep her challenged. She's bored easy. So there's a method to my madness if she comes over, maybe to get her to work on the logo and talk a little bit more to her about what we're doing. She has a pretty good concept of it with the animal butters and the aromatherapies and so forth. That leads me to start to talk to you guys this week on a Monday morning. What I'm going to do, one of my projects is try to self-police myself, being a sole proprietor. I fill all these capacities and wear all of these hats as chief cook, bottle washer, chipper, packer, receiver, webmaster, order taker, butcher, baker, candlestick maker, if you will. Well, I have the 3 websites pretty much up to date and up to speed and transformation, and that's always an ongoing saga to dot some I's and cross some T's. Point being, I'm very tardy in writing my blogs, plural, for both of my websites, pertinent to the Kennel Kelp, which I'm going to get to in a moment, and the Kennel Kelp powders and the human products, which have now dedicated that website to exclusively, and thus created Adahs website, a very recent note. It's like 6 weeks old or something like that. Adahs website dedicated to the animal products. So speaking of the blogs, I'm going to get back to them today. That's one of my things to do, and do a blog entry, daily, as I have done for years. It's not a recent note. Today's subject matter in the blog, when you guys all get there to do so, I'm going to start out at Adahs blog. I'm trying to transfer everything to Adahs website for now. I want to talk more about my kelp powders that I've provided for years, and I want to talk about it in my capacity as an ingredient broker, which I've been for years. I just a short time ago left a voicemail message to my business constituent and friend, Michael King from Vitality Herbs and Clay. Guys that come through the shows and the blogs and the videos and the podcast show here know about Michael King. He was recently on my show about a month or so ago, and we've been talking about scheduling to get him back on and so on and so forth. Thus was the nature of my call voicemail message. They're out west. I'm East Coast, they're West Coast. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning out there, give or take. So when they get there to field that message later on during the confines of this week, Michael and I will talk about getting them back on the show and the format and so forth. One of the things that I want to tie in is I had a really great show last week when I welcomed Trina Felber, a week ago today, actually, from Primal Life Organics. And within all of these things that I'm trying to get off the ground with the hemp oil, I'll get back to that in a moment, the hemp oil, but that was one that was mentioned online in the interview with Trina, as well as talking specifically about her dental products with CBD oil in them in that show. In any event, she highly touted the sacred clay, which is provided by Michael King. And there's a funny story on that in one of my shows. That's how I met Trina years ago, business-wise, trying to present the sacred clay at that time and how the product itself has changed over the years. We talked about that. She gave a nice, 3-second dissertation or something like that, a little bit longer than that. Accolade to sacred clay, so I wanted to point that out to Michael, which I did in the voicemail message. But she also gave a nice online tout to this new hemp oil, 10X Pure, that we have exclusivity on and all of that, but also my Tourmaline water. So the Tourmaline water, Michael King really likes and talks about on my last show. And we're exploring, maybe, all these things to include the water and my continuation to provide Michael's products, which I've done for years, and I'm a client and continuing to do so. Part and parcel of which, in my capacity as an independent ingredient broker, I supply some of the kelp powders to Michael that are ingredients in several of his fine products. So I want to bring him up to snuff on that as well, and talk a little business, which we have on the kelp powders in the past. That's the thing I enjoy about dealing with Vitality Herbs and Clay for a number of reasons. The products, number one, Michael, intuition, knowing about the products, creating the products, interesting life story in his own capacity. We connect on a lot of levels. And So, I'm a client of his products, have been for years. I direct people to his fine company and his fine staff to order the product directly. If indeed that's an option the customer wants to choose. Talk a lot about my BA Sales 5025 virtual voucher program at the shows over at my website. You can check all that out, but that's something that we're always trying to get to a different level, Michael and I and the crew. And then I offer his products private label as well. So Michael and I on the last show, so titled I believe, was Water Sustenance and Clean Food. And we talked about an array of things, follow the bouncing ball, part of which is these amalgam fillings that I've had in my head that I've talked about. His business partner and life partner, Barbara, um, went through the same thing, and he talked about that and how good the clay is for that, and so on and so forth, and the mineral water kit. Well, what I'm now trying to do is the proprietor of my Tourmaline water, Seth Luzansky, is going to be on my show in May. Michael will be on my show. It's just a scheduling thing, but he'll be on my show. This is why I'm initiating the call. I'm trying to bring him up to speed on some other things that have been developing rapidly. So I want to get him on the show, Michael, to expand upon lots of things that we've talked about over the years, and I'll dissect that with Michael behind the scenes because it's too multitudinous right now. So we can hone it down and maybe get into a series of shows or whatever if it gets to that juncture, because the subjects are so in depth. And we're starting to get a lot of inquiries, which is great, about the earthen clays here and so forth. So the other thing that I want Michael to speak of his own offerings is his consultative services, because I'm pretty versed in the product. I am. I'm pretty versed in the product, and I'm a client of it, but it does get to a deeper level sometimes because I'm not a clinician, and I don't have that level of experience with the products sometimes when it gets to a deeper level of understanding the components and with all of the fine ingredients that Michael puts into all of his products have multiple ingredients. So him being the aficionado on each individual ingredient, herb, what have you, they can get to a deeper level about your maladies and conditions if indeed you feel as though you are at that level where you would need, yes, a thriving business on that end of it as well. So that's something that I want him to talk about too, just to reinforce making it aware to the public. And certainly having that rapport and open channel to avail that to my clients, should they want to exercise that option. One of my monikers over the years, I have many, some of them I can't exchange in public, is Creative Solutions for Holistic Healthcare Products Distribution. And I come up with all these recipes, and I talk a lot about that. Point being, Michael's clay products, two of which are in a custom recipe of mine that ultimately turned out to be in Adahs Aromatherapy and Boo Boo Butter. So vendor-wise, now Seth Brzezinski with the water, and I've got Trina that highly touts the water on my show. Michael King, who highly touts the water on my show. Dr. Jeff Lee, who highly touts the water, but I'll get him back on my show. We're working on that schedule. I haven't introduced Kathy Donnell Vidcat and her partner, Ashley, business partner Ashley, and the crew out there yet. I'm going to send them a package as well. So all of these things tie in together, and in my opinion, that is the catalyst with the components that we now have collectively between Trina Felber's fine line of healthcare products, skincare products, dental products, Michael with the earthen clays, natural-based diet coming from the earth, coming from the sea, clean water with Seth Brzezinski. So in my humble opinion, I've always worked on what I've always called the power trio, the BH Sales power trio, which has always been sacred clay, diatomaceous earth, and my kelp powders. It's the core, it's the fulcrum, it's whatever adjective you want to use in all these recipes I come up with. And again, to reinforce, I'm not a mixologist. I play around down in my basement and all of that, but I make sure that the end product is via the manufacturers and the people that are capable. I just convey the recipes to these people, and we've had some pretty good success. The aromatherapy and the dog butter, the dog butters are doing well, especially with Michael's ingredients. And I talk a lot about the aqua clay, terra clay, and how we found it out after the fact that actually has a better suturing effect for the skin. Thus is why originally I had the sacred clay in the formula and this sacred clay is fine for skin. And we talked a lot about that at length. I want Michael to revisit that. We've shared that before. We found out that the sacred clay is actually a more powerful internal detoxifying agent. And then to flip that over, that the aqua terra clay is a more potent application on skincare. But you certainly wouldn't lose with either one. I have both. I've used both. I continue to use both. I make all these poultices to include my Kennel Kelp and so forth. So this week on my blogs, and I'll cut out of this show here, I'm going to blog specifically each day about one variety of all of my seafoods and kelps. Today, I think it's going to be bladder wrack when I get to it. And I'm going to write about how, especially as an ingredient, in my capacity as an ingredient broker, because bladder wrack at the moment, whether it comes from me or not, that's something I want to clarify with Michael as well. And I think it does. I can't recall. And Irish Mosh and Dulce, some of them he does buy from me. Some of them he doesn't. We're working on that. But I want to talk about my kelp powders and sea vegetables, all tying into the clay water that I've told you guys about for years, how I start my day with Tourmaline water and the clay component kits. And Michael and I are working on all kinds of stuff if it does become a business interest to him on the water or not. We're exploring stuff. And I've asked him to where he can fit it into a busy schedule because they're all half-liter bottles unique to the way that I'm promoting the family share program because I just bought a pallet of half-liter bottles. Seth and I will talk about that when we come from the show too. The logistics of the distribution should a Michael King who resides in Oregon, how are we going to get it to him competitively if indeed it gets to that juncture? So I've asked Michael to explore, to start out with specifically the water mineral kit that we talked about when he was on my show, as far as packaging to get creative, if you will, to my aforementioned moniker, to see, I don't know, will 2 bottles of Tourmaline 16-ounce half-liter bottles fit in a box with the components of the Sacred Clay mineral kit? And how can we ship that competitively? I shipped him out a box that's designed for shoes, supposedly, from the posted priority. Well, 12 bottles of the water fit quite nicely in that. That's for him and his staff to enjoy. They like the water. And to see if we need to even entertain taking it to the next level. Pardon me. So my thought on that was, as you guys out there take out the 12 bottles or whatever to play around, I don't know, do 2 of them fit in with the components of the Sacred Water kit, just to use an example, and close the flaps. And I have an interesting deliberation going on with the Postal Service on that one. I'll talk to you about that. Long story short, I've already sent it out to Dr. Lee in the same box. The price was right, the medium postage or whatever, priority postage, it went just fine. I got some crazy message from this delivery that just happened to Michael that, I don't know, it's like $55 to ship it or something. I think they're confused on that one. That's another subject. So, postal prices aside, if they're truly a medium-sized postal priority box unique to the one that I sent Michael, just configuration and physical size-wise, it's a place to start. If indeed they're interested in contemplating making these kits, for those of you that join my shows and blogs and what have you that I talked about yesterday, Easter Sunday, I'm coming up with these kits that will definitely contain several of Michael's products, probably on the immediacy the Sacred Water Mineral Kit with the Tourmaline water in my said kits. And I'm working on all these other diversifications as it may or may not be applicable to the hemp oil. I got all these things going on the drawing board. We might be talking infused water and all that kind of stuff, which is way down the road. Now, flash that back to Trina Felber on the cosmetic lines. I want to follow up with the new version of the Smectite Sacred Clay that I've now been able to get into her hands. It's been Smectite for a couple of 3 years since it was Parapholite. Michael will talk about all of this. But Trina wasn't aware of that. She's pretty busy. She's pretty busy. So in any event, I want to work with her on that and see where that does or doesn't go in the capacity of an independent ingredient broker. And she's always making these new formulations on skincare products. Hold that thought. So, bladder wrack and my kelps. We've talked about that years ago, Trina and I. Well, there's many skin applications, obviously, with all these powders. So, I want to more intensify my capacity as an ingredient broker, as I've talked about all this semi-retirement and getting into retirement and all that crazy stuff. I'll never retire until I expire. But I am changing the direction of my business and honing it down, and I talked a lot about this last calendar year, and I've started to accomplish, having created my granddaughter's website 8 months ago. I projected that I wanted to get it done in the first quarter of this year. Bang, it's done. We've had a modicum of success in 6 weeks. Very happy. It's because of these fine products and the ingredients that are within them. I, for years, have been an ambassador of goodwill, a messenger, whatever. I am not a clinician. I always use the standard disclaimer, nothing cures anything. You've heard me go on my rants and raves. Thus is the name of the Grunts and Groans podcast show. It's part of my therapy. We'll talk about that with Michael as well. It's an inside joke with Michael Winnan if he sees this. This is my first cup of coffee in like 9 days, and I'm doing really good with my coffee. It's an inside joke with Michael. Sacred Clay is great for abating the cravings for coffee. I had to cheat today. Michael and I have talked about that caffeine rush. It's a drug, man. It's a drug. But just to get you jump started, whether it's justifiable, it's horrible for your brain, coffee. But I'm better, and I did put Sacred Clay in it, and I did use Tourmaline water to brew it. Michael will get a kick out of all of that. So, I'm going to talk about my cow powders all week long. Individual strains of in my blogs. I'll tie the blogs into my blog talk show and these podcasts into the blog talk show. And again, because I'm a sole proprietor, not oh poor me, but I've told you that before. And again, with your guys and gals' busy schedules, whenever you come in and out of these informational videos or whatever, the likelihood that this to you precedes what I already talked about in my show, or vice versa, and all of those scenarios that you can formulate under that opinion. It's like a library. It's, if you will. It's when you come in, if you read Michael King's fine articles, which I highly recommend at his website. I don't know. The one he authored in February, I just read the other day. We're busy. All right, so before I get rambling too long here, I'll blog about the Kelps. I'm excited about starting to get a little bit more of an intimate relationship with scheduling and bicoastal relationships and all this stuff. And other vendors running their own companies with extensive account bases and what have you, and I'm fitting in there somewhere. So it's all good. It's all about Ada. I'm going to talk more because I have another proposal that I'm interested in exploring with Trina Felber, because she liked the hemp oil and because she has projections of putting more CBD in her own products. And I'm sure it's going to be the cosmetics too. It already is. It's in her deodorant. But her child, Mia, who I've talked about a lot, and I'm a client of her product, I want to get the two kids, my granddaughter and her, whether they ever talk personally or whatever, that would be great. But Ada is encouraged by what Mia does. Mia is very comfortable on camera, has a different comfort zone, so I think that's good for Ada too. And I think as they age and get older, that all of these subjects are going to be so prevalent in their life and changing medicine as a whole and all this craziness with insurances and all of that. These kids, given the opportunity when they're young adults and with these fine products and information, they're going to straighten all this out, given the opportunity to do so. So, it's all about the kids. It's all about the vendors. When I talk to Trina more, I know she has plans for expanding Mia's products, which might include CBD. But bladder wrack is a good component for skincare as well. So I want to talk to Trina more and more about my capacity as an independent ingredient broker too, as I'm going more and more with the custom products and the private label products of these fine vendors. And I just reached out, I talked about that over the weekend. Funny story, the management team changed that one of my longtime standing vendors, and I've been so busy. I just found that out, and I really don't know how recent or old that piece of information is. I think it's very recent. But I've extended a visit to them to maybe be on my show and talk more here. That would be Effective Natural Products. Their well canine, well feline, and well equine products. They are the manufacturers of my custom blend glucosamines for the animals, as well as the human products that I offer and will be offering moving forward at the Kennel Kelp website and private labels and all that stuff unique to their products. So lots and lots on the plate, all encouraging, all good, as we together collectively, vendors, supplying vendors, my manufacturers, Kathy Donnell, their Kathy, manufacturer of the dog butters and what have you, will be on my show. It's all scheduling. That might get into the confines of the summer. That's how far out you have to look with everybody's busy schedule. So hang in there, and we're going to be coming up with some really good things for you. We already are. Please do check out Adahs Animal Products.com, KennelKelp.com, my dedicated CTFO hemp oil website. And the best way to get to all of them right now, because I have so many, is to go to Kennel Kelp, and in the opening page, homepage, paragraph, a few pages, paragraphs down, there's all this myriad of links to all the respective information. And right now, until I can get that even more refined, we're working on that too. Okay, guys, have a great day. I'll be doing a Blog Talk show taping later today. Join me when you can. We appreciate everything you've done. We appreciate what you continue to do. Our business grows through your referrals and testimonials. Thank you. And always remember that BA Sales promotes good health in all animals and their humans. And so does Ada. We'll see you in the next episode. We get to each other. Have a good day.